Shortly before Tracii surrendered to prison, we did a video together. And in that video, she got on the record things she was going to do while in prison. And my response was, we'll see. Well, now Tracie's home from prison. She has documented her journey. She wants to talk about her journey with all of you today. So welcome to the White Collar Advice channel. Tracii, let's just jump right in. As I recall, you were sentenced to 51 months in federal prison. When did you surrender and what was your mindset as you were preparing to go in?
I surrendered on March 20th, 2023. My mindset, I was, the day that I surrendered, I was ready. I feel like I was ready to go in and work that release plan. I was pretty confident in the plan that we had worked on together.
You were sentenced to 51 months. I know it was a little longer than you had expected. You began working with our team after you were sentenced to 51 months. And on the call, I asked you, what is success for you? And as I recall, you said, I want to get home as quickly as possible. And then I said, how do you do that? What can we put into place? So walk us through some of those discussions before you even went in so people understand what you began to create.
Well, we pretty much, I mean, we, as you know, talked through pretty much everything. Like you've got to do the work. That was one thing that I feel like you really instilled in me, is that you're not just writing this release plan. You're not just like, we're not helping you so we can throw this thing together so that you can go there and work out or go and sit in the TV room. You know what I mean? I've got to do the work. This isn't just for the judge. This isn't just for show. Um, so I really had that in my mind. Not just that, but I, to be honest, I kind of felt like I had something to prove because there were so many people that doubted that I was sincere. And I knew I was, but there was a lot of like, okay, yeah, right. She's just putting this release plan together and she's, paying for it. And then that's it. So
So what Tracy's discussing is, so it's one thing to have words on a page, a release plan that lays out a vision of what you're going to do while in custody. And most people say they're going to follow through on the plan, but not everyone follows through on the plan because surrendering to prison can be difficult. It's a hopeless environment. So it really does require resolve and following through on what you say you're going to do. And that's why I said to Tracii at the end of that interview, we'll see, because everyone who goes to prison says that. So you surrender to prison in Arizona for 51 months. As I understand it, did you surrender with your release plan? And if you did, is it something you gave to your case manager?
I did. I surrendered with the release plan. I was kind of chomping at the bit for 3 weeks, waiting to get in front of my case manager. Um, I tried to give it to her the day I got there. She said, wait for your team meeting. And when we did sit down in team, I I gave her the case, I gave her the release plan. And I just remember feeling a little nervous because from what I've heard and kind of anticipated, here we put all of this work into this, and I really meant everything that I wrote in that plan. And I wanted kind of some buy-in from people there that were holding me accountable. Um, and I was just a little nervous that she was gonna go, uh-huh,
Mhm.
thanks. Like, don't tell me what to do, don't tell me how to do my job, kind of thing. So it was really important to me, going into that first meeting with her, with being aware of the fact that, your case managers don't want you to walk in there and tell them how to do their job. I'm walking in there with a piece of paper that says, according to my calculations,
Mhm.
right? So that was a bit of, I don't know. I just kept it real with her. I went in there and said, look, I worked on this release plan. I'm not trying to tell you how to do your job. That's not what this is. This is me holding myself accountable and asking you to look at this and actually see, like, I know you have everything in my PSR. I know that, but this is it's an extension of that, because this is my side of how I want this to go and how I'm hoping this will go, not just for my benefit, but for the benefit of everyone involved, as they say in court, like the community, the society, the prison system, what, just this, I think this will benefit all of us. And I want to get out of here as soon as possible, of course.
So something on our weekly webinar every Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific, Tracii joins a lot. We interview subject matter experts like John Gustin, who ran the halfway house for the BOP for 25 years. And he flat out said, Some people get 4 months in the halfway house. Someone with the same sentence may get 12 months in the halfway house. To get more time, you make it in the interest of the case manager. If there's 5 beds left and 50 people want it, it probably makes sense that the person who is doing the work is going to get more halfway house time if they make it in that case manager's interest. So I think right out of the gate, you had good messaging, you had the plan. But let's transition for a moment to follow through because it wasn't at that meeting where she said, Tracii, you're incredible. I'm going to give you 12 months in the halfway house, which you eventually got. It's what you did after that meeting. So I want to talk for a moment about the actual work, writing, blogging in the beginning to teach on the inside, because that's the work that people need to do to become extraordinary. Let's hear about that.
Okay. So yeah, after that meeting, she said, okay, thanks. I'll put this in your PS in your file. Um, and I left there. I don't have another meeting for a while. In the meantime, I got involved with every program that I possibly could. A lot of them you have to be on the wait list for. And I went to education, talked to the education director, started teaching classes. Um,
Hold
then,
on, we just can't gloss over that.
okay.
Teaching classes. For you, it might not be a big deal, but it's really a big deal because there are some people who go to prison who say they're going to do something they don't. Some at times, someone will get a negative feedback from their case manager on the release plan. They then stop. It's an iterative process. It is growing every single day as you grow. We don't live our life for a case manager. It's for our family to build a new record, to prove worthy of a second chance. Some stakeholders are going to respond differently to it. But you said you began teaching classes. What were you teaching? How to create a release plan? What value were you providing to other women inside that prison?
I did teach how to create a release plan. The first class that I taught there, because there are different, like it's almost like little semesters, right? The quarters. The first one was more like it was touchy because inmates aren't supposed to be teaching reentry. That goes through the reentry coordinator. So I did get some pushback originally on teaching reentry classes. So, and I say teaching, they say teaching, I actually call it inmate led. I love the inmate led classes in the prisons because I feel like we all get something out of it. I'm learning too, from people in the room. And just kind of sharing my experience and also putting together, you know, everything in formats like that we used. So I sort of I shared my release plan with these women that came into the class and kind of, walked them through release planning. Um, Eventually, I'm kind of skipping ahead, but eventually it got to that. First, there was some pushback from some of the people, directors or officers there that were in charge of release plan or reentry. There were a lot of changes. And that's something that everybody's going to be facing because the BOP has a lot of staffing issues. So there are a lot of changes. Um, the person that was kind of against it left, and then someone else came in, and she was like, "Wow, this is great," So, um, there was some pushback, but I just kept going. I just kept showing that I was interested and I would be involved in at whatever level I could. So initially there was the shoot, what did they call it? It was not called pre-release planning the first time, but it was instead of being under the reentry, it was an ACE class, the adult continued education. And I did two. One was creative writing. And then and I taught that once a week. And then the other was life skills. So we put it under a life skills category. But because I was doing a lot of the release planning in the life skills class and they saw that, the next quarter they made it release planning. It was actually called release planning.
So these are some of the benefits besides Tracii doing the work. By doing the work and documenting it in her plan, she becomes a candidate to advance her release date, or as the First Step Act discusses, extraordinary and compelling. So when I was in prison in 2008, I taught a class for a few months. I enjoyed it. It felt good to contribute and give back, but it didn't change it. I was still going to get 90 days in the halfway house. It didn't advance my agenda, so to speak. In your case, you went above just surrendering with a release plan, doing your prison job and avoiding problems. You became, as the court would say, extraordinary and compelling. So as I understand it, did you document this progress and these teaching in your release plan? And I presume you shared this progress with your case manager.
Yes. I shared it with my case manager. I shared it with, like I said, with the people, with my boss, with, everybody that I reported to, my counselor, and I wrote a blog every day.
Mhm.
Um, I wrote it on the prison computer, sent it to my daughter, and she posted it, and just kind of kept going with it. Just kept documenting. And
I,
it's
I-
one. Go ahead. Sorry.
it's just, I'm sorry, you finish your thought and then I'm going to jump in. Go ahead.
No, it's one thing when the thing is, and you know this, we both had cases that had some media attention, and when you go in there, you can either, it's like our choice, right? You can be defeated by the fact that people are saying she's not going to do it. You know what I mean? Like, she doesn't care. She's just a con. Like, you have that all going against you. You can choose to just say, okay, screw it. The world's never going to see me any other way. Or you can do the work. And it was important to me, not for the world as much, but for me to prove to myself that I do have remorse. I do want to change this. I do want to do everything I can. Um, and those who know me love me, and those who don't, oh well. I mean, it's a hard place to get, but
You're so fantastic. You're great. You've covered so many things. So yeah, I'm going to put up a link to the newsletter we put out yesterday where we talk about living with as a convicted felon, this label that accompanies it. And the reality is you don't need everyone in your corner. You just need a few people. Tracii has said so many things that are profound. She's not living for a case manager or judge. She's living for her family, for her legacy, to prove that she can follow through on these commitments she made in a YouTube video just before she surrendered with media, because I know people involved in your case were tracking me down on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube. One of them damn near showed up at my home. Okay, so I understand that some were out to hurt you, but you focused on the end result, getting home as quickly as possible. You glossed over two things we need to touch on for a moment. One, you very casually said, I taught classes. That is a really big deal. Two, you said, I wrote a blog every day. For those of you watching, that is really hard to do. When I was in prison, I needed help to write every day. Michael Santos helped me. So if you're going to prison, even if you've created a release plan, even if you've created one with our team, are you prepared to follow through to the degree that Tracii did? Because by following through every day and documenting it, things began to really accelerate. Let's talk about that acceleration. You're creating, you're building. Can you walk us through more interactions with your case manager and how they were beginning to advocate on your behalf, like progress reports, letters? Help us understand what happened because you did this work.
sure. Well, so eventually I ended up getting a reduction. So my 51 points, or my 51-month sentence became a 42-month sentence.
Well, how did that even happen? Like, how does the judge, what did you go back to court and they resentence you? Like, walk us through that. Because everyone who's in prison wants to build a record that gets them out of prison. They want a resentencing because of the first step back. Like, how did that happen for you?
Well, okay, so you asked about the letters. So people in the BOP, they cannot write letters for you any longer. I think at one time they could. Something happened with like some case in New York was, I don't know, something
There's
happened.
always something happening with the
Yeah, there's a story. There's a story that I heard. But anyway, something happened and now they can't write letters anymore. But I did ask my case manager, can you write a letter somehow, like document what my progress is here? And she goes, well, yeah, progress report. So she writes me, or she gives me my progress report. And I honestly, some of the things that I did there, I didn't do for the judge. Some of the things I did there, there's a program called Angel Tree that is so near and dear to my heart. My business has done Angel Tree. I've been involved in Angel Tree since 2013 at home. And if you're not familiar with it, it's a children of incarcerated parents. Um, and we have trees and we have them at the restaurant. I've had them every year before my case started here. And people can choose a tag off of a tree and it says like the gender of the child and the age, and then they can get that child. So anyway, I saw Angel Tree was coming up. So I got involved, sent a message to the assistant warden and asked like, how do I get involved with Angel Tree? Ended up doing it for the FCI, for the officers. And I did that just because I wanted to do it, Children's Day. And got involved because I wanted to do it. And so when I saw her progress report, that she had written down all of those things, I was kind of in shock. Like they really tracked it. And
Oh,
then she had asked me, share your release plan with other women. I want them to get your insight because they drive me crazy. Like she was literally like, they're driving me crazy, expecting A, B, C, D. Like you get it. Well, maybe if it comes from you, they'll get it, and stop knocking on my door. So it eventually became something where I feel like she kind of thought it was helpful that there's somebody out there letting them know like what can and can't be done, I guess.
mhm.
I don't know. But anyway, so the progress report helped me a lot. Basically said that I had done Angel Tree, that I had gone and that they were piloting a new program called the Grow program. Um, and they had me go in there and kind of be the first one in there to help them get it started. And that is something that they put on my progress report too. That's getting ready for the outside world. And there were pre-release classes in that program. And so it was like we had our own dorm. It was like an honor dorm. So that was in there that I was in the honor dorm. Um,
So everything they did is frankly better than a letter because a progress report shows progress over time. So it's building and documenting on top of
right.
one another. And then, as I understand it, you have this progress, you have your plan, and you're in prison. And then you share this with your judge who gave you 11 months longer than you had hoped for.
Yeah.
And I know when you went to prison, the goal wasn't necessarily a sentencing reduction because of the First Step Act. It was like, how do I get 6 to 8 months in the halfway house, especially because you weren't pursuing the drug program, right? So this gets to the court, and then like, what did the judge do?
Well, before the judge, when it gets to the court, the prosecutor adamantly opposed it.
Naturally.
So that was the very first. So my lawyer puts it in front of I guess, files it in court. The first thing, the prosecutor opposed it so strongly that I thought, there is no way this is gonna, no way, no way. Like, remember that she has a history, remember everything that she did, remember that and a lot of the things that have been mentioned, ironically, it's like, it was from the media, not from my PSR. Right.
Mhm.
So I don't know how they can do that, but they can. The stories that were in the media are not exactly the same as my charges, right? It was a little embellished, a lot embellished. So there was all of that. And she doesn't really accept responsibility and, so on and so forth. And she should have gotten more. It just was so aggressive. Um, and the very next, so it was like, I just went to sleep that night, like, okay, well, it's okay. It's okay.
Mhm.
I'm, it's okay. Like reading that, I'm thinking the judge is going to give me more time if he could. Like it was so bad. Um, the very next day, the judge granted my reduction and mentioned in his opinion that even though the government states opposes this and states A, B, C, D, E, F, G, um, they fail to recognize the progress that she has made based on her progress report and her release plan. And I was just like, oh my God. Like, I don't know
It's
if I
such
showed that to you. I think I did.
Yeah, you did. And
Yeah.
you can expect a US attorney, and if you have 9 minutes left to live and you're in prison and you ask for a compassionate release, the US attorney is going to deny it. Okay, so that's what they do. So that doesn't surprise me. Uh, but the outcome that you received, it just wasn't by accident. You engineered it. So all of you watching, if you've already been sentenced, understand the judge took all of your mitigation into consideration at your sentencing hearing. It's already reflected.
And he
But
hated me. He didn't like me.
yeah, he wasn't a fan based on the offense and the conduct and the victim. I can understand that.
Yeah.
Yet you built this record over time and you shared it, not expecting anything, and you were rewarded. So for everyone watching, you've got to embrace that reality. What have you created post-sentencing that the district court did not consider at sentencing? So you get the time off. When did you then learn that this work that they were going to reward you? Because halfway house is a privilege, not a right. When did you learn that they were going to give you, well, how long did they give you in the halfway house?
I got a whole year in the halfway house,
How
which
did how did you get that news?
my case manager called me in and said, you know, basically you've earned this and now you have the 42-month sentence. She got the news from the court that I had the reduction and said, okay, that means we can put in for your halfway house now. And I was like, we can what? You
Mhm.
know? Um, so I feel like it all worked out. I mean, I've kind of been like just surprised by things, but not because I didn't do the work or I wasn't about it, but because I don't know. It just feels like sometimes when everything is against you, and I felt like, okay, I deserved for everything to be against me. I guess I'm just gonna lay down and take it. But then that's like one, like I said, it's a choice, right? We can either choose to say, I'm just gonna take it, or we can get up every day in that place that we don't want to be in, away from our families, and say, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna get out of here.
So let's wrap up this interview with the best advice you would offer a defendant. When we lead webinars, we have a webinar today. I said we can't change the past.
Mm,
We can't guarantee what will happen moving forward. We're never going to ask you to do what we don't do every single day and still document, meaning creating assets to influence cynical people. You did it every single day. So if someone's watching this, regardless of what part of the journey they're in, can you offer some advice for someone who you know they're in turmoil, they're struggling. It's so incredibly difficult to have press releases that we all don't agree with because the government has this one-sided version of events. Just offer some final advice to people going through this really wretched system.
we have to keep believing in ourselves. We have to, like you said, keep the people that are in your corner, keep them there close. Um, and really don't give up on yourself. I mean, the system can be grueling. Sometimes it can be frustrating. And if you really truly do the work and you're really truly holding yourself accountable and taking responsibility, that's the hardest part. The
Mhm.
hardest part is getting over that hump. There's this media, there's this press releases, and you know that they're BS because they took it. It makes you feel like not taking responsibility because it does. Did it make you feel like that? I mean, in the beginning, it's like it's such bullshit that you want to just be like, that didn't happen like that. So it makes you feel like, why should I
That
take
is,
responsibility for that?
so that's, I guess, how I'll wrap it up. To relate to what you've said. To thrive through this system, you learn to think differently, kind of like an underdog, so to speak, right? You can't just try to tell them, no, I'm different. It's not true. It's fake. They're making it up. You just simultaneously begin to build a new record, which is what people are going to judge you by. So for everyone watching this, whether you've created your release plan with our team or on your own, at the end of a good release plan, it lays out a vision of what you will do moving forward. I want you to ask yourself a really difficult question, an honest question. Your release plan, as Tracii's did, said she was going to do this in prison, write every day, write reviews, teach, build a record that shows why she would be a candidate for a resentencing and maximum halfway house time. She said, I'm willing to do the work on days where I don't think anyone cares, no one will read it. What have you done since creating your plan? Are you following through? And without that implementation, it's words on a page. It looks good, but it's not going to have the impact. And with that said, I'm just so grateful that you're in our community. Congratulations on your outcome. You earned it. We're thankful to have played a small part. And it's a wonderful story. And I'm just thankful that you've given us your time.
Thank you. I'm really grateful for you and for you to stay with me when there were so many naysayers, even trying to come at you to tell you like, don't believe her. She won't change.
Mhm.
It means a lot.
We kind of have to be, we kind of become like a little team. It's sort of like us against the world. It's
Yeah.
really, anyway, we'll leave it here for now. I know we're going to see you in our webinar in just over an hour. Tracii, thank you again.
Thank you.